In Gaza, the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas has lasted more than 3 weeks, but now appears to be threatened. This week, Israel launched a series of strikes, saying they were partly in retaliation for the killing of one of their soldiers. Hamas denied any role in the attack and in turn accused Israel of breaking the ceasefire. Qatar's Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani has been the key go-between on this deal and many others. We sat down together in New York on Thursday. Prime Minister, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much, Farid, for having me.
So tell us where we stand and what is going on with regard to the ceasefire, because there do seem to be these violations, then the Israelis attack. Are these violations serious? Are the Israeli counterattacks excessive? How would you characterize?
Well, first of all, I think that if we look at the deal itself, it's not a simple deal. It's a very complex deal. And despite the ceasefire, we had, even in the previous ceasefire, which was in January 25, we had a lot of violations and a lot of Palestinians being killed during that ceasefire. The violations are happening every day, and we have in the deconfliction room, the operation room that we did together with Egypt and the United States, we register everything over there. So what happened yesterday, yes, there was a violation at the beginning, but then the attack was really disproportionate and was about to jeopardize the deal. But what we have seen that then both parties, we work together very closely with them in order to make sure that the ceasefire stay intact.
So you do have a ceasefire, fragile, but you do have the hostages out. You do have largely the end of Israeli bombing. But to get to the next stage, where you have massive reconstruction and all this, requires some kind of force to replace what was the Hamas. The King of Jordan has just said that if there is going to be an Arab force, it is not going to go in there and shoot Palestinians. It wants to be involved in peacekeeping, not active suppression of violence. Is that realistic?
Well, basically, when we are talking about international presence, international force presence, there should be a defined mandate, and we are working together with the United States in order to define the mandate of the international forces. And basically, the international forces' role should be securing the Palestinians and the Israelis, that both of them don't pose a threat for each other.
But does that mean you think that the Jordanians or Egyptians or forces from the UAE will come and be willing to take over in Gaza? And I say, if there is some Hamas presence or some militia or some guy with an AK-47, are they going to shoot Palestinians?
Well, here we go back to the question of the Palestinian agency. Now, when we were discussing the 20 points document that President Trump has laid, we made sure that the interaction between the Gazans and the rest is to be, the interface should be a Palestinian interface, whether it's a Palestinian police, Palestinian administration, and everything international should remain in the background as a guarantor and as safeguard for this agreement to take place. Now, no one expects from an Arab force or an Islamic force to go there and to shoot on Palestinians, but the role of guaranteeing the security should be taken care by the Palestinian police, which will be formed in Gaza.
So a lot of people think that one of the reasons Prime Minister Netanyahu did not want the Palestinian Authority, which runs things in the West Bank, to be involved in Gaza, is that he doesn't want a unified Palestinian entity that in a sense governs both the West Bank and Gaza, because that begins to sound like a Palestinian state. Would it make more sense for the Palestinian Authority to take over these functions?
Well, actually, we want the Palestinian Authority to be the single agency for the Palestinians to take care of Gaza and the West Bank. Right now, there were ongoing talks between all the Palestinian factions, including Fatah and the PA, in order to make sure that this technocratic committee, it's apolitical, it will take care of Gaza in this transition period, and it will be linked somehow to the Palestinian Authority. And the Palestinian Authority, once the reforms are in place, the Palestinian Authority should take over the governance in Gaza and the West Bank together. We cannot separate those two units. Those are one units. Those are the future Palestinian state. Look, Farid, whatever we do, whatever we say, there are wishful thinking from some politicians, maybe in Israel, that there are other solutions other than the two-state solution. There is no solution except the two-state solution. How can we figure out the formula where two people, they can live side by side together and feel safely?
I asked him how a small nation like Qatar became so pivotal in all these negotiations.
Well, it's look, I think that there are a lot of factors when we look at Qatar national security and foreign policy doctrine. Qatar is a small country, and from our perspective, each country in the international community needs to contribute something to the international community. We found ourselves that we are able to convene between conflicted parties and understand the grievances that between them, and try to address them step by step. And we've built a track record of credibility and honesty and transparency with those parties. That's what made Qatar becoming a destination for mediation. We started building our experience in the region, but then it extended beyond that. When the Israeli attack happened in Qatar on 9th of September, there were other mediations ongoing. DRC and Rwanda, the Colombians were arriving at that time. So mediation is part of our identity as a country, is part of our national security doctrine. And it's enshrined in our constitution, actually, that Qatar should always seek diplomacy as a way to resolve conflicts, not the use of force.
So you get criticized for, having relations with Hamas. You get criticized for people often see you as close to Iran. Explain the nature of your relationship with Iran.
Iran is my neighbor. Iran is just 150 miles away from me. I share with them the largest gas field in the world. Iran is part of our region, and I have to deal with them, and we would like to see Iran flourishing and developing and prospering. And of course, we don't want to see an arms race in our region. We don't want to see a nuclear race in our region. That's why we've been supporting diplomacy all the time, that Iran reach a deal with the US and the Europeans in order to get this nuclear program under the supervision and to make sure that it's a peaceful program. So that's the responsibility that Qatar is taking in reaching out and tackling these issues, trying to help to mediate and to resolve these issues.
There are criticisms made of you in the United States, including from President Trump's sort of side of the political spectrum, and people wonder: was the United States' guarantee that you got, security guarantee from President Trump, a payback for President Trump accepting the Qatari plane? What's your response?
There is no relation at all between those two topics. First of all, this plane issue, I've been answering it like many times. US is our partner and our ally, and the plane happened is a government-to-government agreement, which is normally happening between us and any other governments also around the world. US is our ally, and we've been growing this relationship and developing it in a lot of areas, not only in security and defense, but also in energy and economy and education, in many aspects. When you look at the security guarantees that we got from the United States, this is a guarantee for United States interest as well, which are in the region, which are in Qatar. Either it's about the airbase that that we are hosting, or there we are hosting more than 10,000 U.S. soldiers. American universities are there in Qatar. American energy companies are operating in Qatar. So the security guarantee is just a demonstration of the strategic relationship between Qatar and the United States.
And the plane stays with the U.S. government and doesn't go to President Trump's
The plane is a government-to-government deal. It's Defense Ministry of Defense of Qatar with the Department of War in the United States.
Prime Minister, pleasure to have you on again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Farid.